been a long time since I've done a video, and I felt a calling to get back into doing that because I feel like I should be sharing with the world the kinds of things that I've been experimenting with and learning about. And so today I felt called to harvest these sprouts that I have been growing on this system here. It's an interesting little thing that I found online, and so I wanted to experiment with it and see how well it does for sprouting. So far it seems to be doing an okay job. I'm going to show you actually what these guys look like when they grew. These were a combination of peas and some lentils, and so I kind of got like mixed results of this mixed bag going in. Alright, so what you guys look like, you can see on the inside here that they develop a pretty strong root structure, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Making a bit of a wet mess here, but you can see the roots just hang out like that. There's no soil involved in the system, which makes it fairly handy. And then when you cut them out, I was just using one of these meat scissors, and I found that they work really well to cut these guys at the roots, which is pretty easy. Just kind of get in there, go to the base, give them a snip, and then I just toss them into a bowl. So I probably got here, I don't know how much this is, but I'm going to weigh it when it's done, and then I'll show you what the potential is of per tray, at least for these seeds anyways. Oh, and there's something I wanted to say about sprouts. We're still in spring here, and spring is an amazing time because and recognized in Ayurveda, which is an Indian form of medicine, very ancient, the springtime is the time that nature gives you a lot of sprouts and baby greens, and then later on in the season some berries and cherries. And in the beginning, using what nature gives you, which is these sprouts and microgreens, to eat primarily the most of as your diet at this time of the year, these can have a cleansing effect on the body. And this cleansing effect is what's needed this time of the year in order to clear away a lot of the sludge that was built up during the winter months when the body was holding on to more fat for cushioning, for warmth, and just for storage, like a bit of a human hibernation. And all of that toxic buildup that happens for us during that season, then the spring triggers that cleanse of the movement of our lymph in our body to clear out wastes. The ability for our kidneys and our livers to get some structural support and agents to help chelate things out of the body that aren't supposed to be in there and that make us sluggish and feeling unhealthy. So these greens have the ability to help with supporting the body to do that with all these living enzymes and energy stores and nutrients and minerals and amino acids, which are the proteins. All these things function, I think, in everybody's bodies in a different alchemical way, because I've been coming to recognize just how much that our mindsets and our thoughts really shape the outcome of our body. I'm convinced more than ever that as we cultivate good thinking and good feeling and embracing more of who we are and being honest with ourselves, that this purity starts translating into the body in that way as well. We feel cleaner, more energized, lighter. And the opposite is also true. So if we're thinking negative thoughts, decaying thoughts, being petty, jealous, just superficial, not recognizing the deeper meaning behind things, not really seeing the life in things, and just kind of being more robotic, that is the kind of thinking that is going to foster decay in the body. It's like literally an invitation to say, hey body, I'm ready to perish, so start decaying me. And then what happens? Our bodies become weak, and we're literally sending those messages to our body to say break down, and we invite in parasites and pathogens and just develop really unhealthy states in the gut microbiome, which is a fine balance between bacteria, fungi, yeasts, parasites, and other things as well. That it's really just this emerging science that's coming out now and becoming more public. It's amazing that what triggers us to operate and really influences our thinking, as well as the how our body is going to either thrive or decay, because these organisms can either be literally pooping out things that are nutritious for nurturing the health and integrity of our cells, such as bacteria that secrete butyric acid to nourish and feed the cells along our intestinal tract. So that would be a good example. Whereas yeast like Candida, when they just overgrow, I mean, everything is in there to serve a role. Candida, as I understand it, it's here actually to eat up heavy metals in the body. And it also feeds on disaccharides, I believe, in terms of the sugars. So a lot of that stuff that's in our diet that breaks down to or comes in the form of like fructose and sucrose and just a lot of starches, especially with grains, it's really going to feed some of those pathogens like the Candida. And when we have these out of balance states of these different organisms, the Candida, for instance, or other parasites especially, their poopings out are quite toxic to the body. So we don't want to have such an abundance in those guys that are going to be having that effect on us. So what's happening inside of us, it's like a world unto itself, and it's fascinating. I'm just trying to soak more of this knowledge in, and now trying to actually make it experiential and putting into practice some of this learning about the microbiome to actually feel, well, what kind of nutrients or herbs, supplements actually do the job of healing the gut lining. What is actually effective at eliminating the parasites in their bodies that shouldn't be there, to not only kill them, but also help in their purging out of the body, which means our bowels especially, but all the channels of elimination, especially the bowels, they have to be moving. We can't be constipated if we're going to really be cleansing our body hardcore, such as getting rid of parasites. So we have to make sure that we are more regular in our bowel movements, and that can be an entire science unto itself. You know, how much fiber do you need, and how much water do you need, and how much movement do you need? These three basic things are going to vary for everyone, and that's like kind of the primary point. Once things are out of balance, you might need more than that. Maybe some herbs to give you a bit of a laxative effect, like Escada Sagrada or Senna, which are pretty potent, so you want to really be cautious with those. Then that can help loosen the system, as well as can a lot of magnesium, upwards in the 1500 milligram range, I believe, and can also help with relaxing the smooth muscles of the intestines, and that can help with releasing a lot of the muck that's inside of us. But if we're already really along the way of having lost the integrity of the gut, then that approach might not be too proactive. So everyone's just so individual. You really have to have someone to work with you who has a bit of knowledge and experience to be able to coach you with this, because I know I'm experiencing this within myself. Being very honest, when I started pursuing holistic nutrition, it was about wanting to understand how food can help us thrive. How is it that it helps us heal? And so this has been quite a journey for me, and I'm still figuring it out. So with respects to the nutrition stuff, I want to see now if I can put in a protocol into place that's going to do that job of healing the gut, that's going to cleanse parasites out of my body, and then nourish the body. Now, I'm going to kind of play with this and figure out what order works and what doesn't, because I hear different opinions all the time. Like, first you should get rid of the parasites, then you should do the gut healing. So other people say do the gut healing first, like start that right away. Whereas other people will say that the whatever healing you do gets mitigated by the damage being done by the pathogenic microorganisms inside of us. So I kind of want to try doing everything at once. But some key pointers I'm definitely going to be doing a colonics first, because I think that, having said earlier, the bowel needs to be moving. That I think would be an excellent way to just clear the way more potently. And after maybe a week after that, preparing myself, eating clean and whatnot, to then do the parasite cleansing. And then 10 days and then after that, and at that point I'll do a second colonics. And 10 days after that first flush, we have to do the same routine again for clearing the parasites, which would involve, again, a multitude of herbs. Pau d'arco would be one, black walnut. There's various, and you have to use various in order to tackle all the different things that might be in you and we just don't know what they are. So that these are known to do away with the harmful pathogens and not have much of an impact on the good microorganisms that are inside of us. So as they are killed off, whatever they had hatched that were in earlier stages of growth and that killed at that time, then on the 10 days afterwards, we get those remaining. And usually too, if you're using good quality herbs and tools to attack, or not attack, but do away with these guys. If you're using a milder formulas like some pre-mixed packages that you'll find like by Renew Life or other supplement companies, and then they may not be as potent, and you might need to actually do more applications than just the two. So that's something to keep in mind. And so anyways, I started this whole thing with the microgreens. This is how in nature we would naturally get those supports to elicit these cleansing reactions in the body. But these days we're in such a toxic world, most of us, with our bowels not moving, with our lungs congested with pollution from the city, with our skin not even able to sweat out enough of the toxicity within us, like all these things. So it's spring. Spring is almost done. Summer's going to be here soon. If you haven't done any kind of cleansing, you should really do that at this point, to really ease the rest of the year for you, so you don't start breaking out with allergies or skin eruptions, or hormone imbalances, and God knows a bunch of other things, all the way up to like cancer. This kind of eating with the seasons and doing the cleansing work and doing this annually, we can really reverse these things on a physical level. And yeah, that's just a physical level, because there's more. I know, an energetic, emotional body, as well as just the spiritual body. There's so much more to us. These levels all need nourishment. It's not just food and drink that we're putting in our bodies. We need to nourish our mind. We need to feel our heart and express who we really are. Bring that light and that gift into the world, so we can each play our part to create an abundant and joyful and loving world. We need to do that part on all levels. So learn where your heart is coming from. Be mindful of your thoughts, and always ask why. Be curious. Figure out if the things you're doing, are you doing it because you're relieving, easing addictions in your life? And we can be addicted to anything. We can be allergic to anything. And excess of anything can cause our bodies to reject things. So again, the mind, the thought, the feelings, the body, it's all connected. And we need to tackle all the layers that are relevant for you and for me. So me sharing this right now is actually part of my own therapy in that regard, because it's difficult to learn a lot, to actually put into practice as much assimilation as sometimes I try to assimilate. But the things that I do, if I put it into practice, then I can learn it on a deeper level, and then it becomes that much more valuable to be delivered to people as a tool for self-empowerment and education and growth. So I hope to be sharing more. Oh yeah. So there's like more. I'm kind of making something here, and I wanted to share the rest of what I'm doing. I had a quarter of this also dedicated to garlic chives, and they didn't really sprout much, actually, I have to say. Like, there's some of them gave little green stems, but most of it is just the germinated actual seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick these guys and put them in my NutriBullet, and I'm going to make a nice sauce. And these guys have an awesome, amazing garlicky taste. It's not too strong or overbearing, and it's going to add a really nice flavor impact to this cream base that I'm going to make for a sprout salad. So this is going to be really fun, and we'll see what that turns into. Yeah, so a great thing to do to take advantage of vegetables you got lying around in your fridge is just grab a whole bunch of them, clean them up a bit, and put them all into a salad. If they're really not, because I know people sometimes let things hanging around in their fridge too long, so if it's not good, throw it out. But if they're still got some vitality in them, then use them up and just make a random salad and dip out of these things. I'm going to be using some green onions to actually put into the salad, which, by the way, the sprouts, the 3/4 of one of those containers in the sprouting bin, which was this guy, I used 3/4 of this. It only yielded about 70 grams, so didn't really do a lot. Not overly impressed, but I'm going to see if I have better luck with the different kinds of sprouts, including the sunflowers that are going right now. Anyway, so I'm going to be adding the green onions to those, as well as a little bit of celery left over that I've got here. And the red bell pepper, I'm going to be adding this guy into the dip that I'm going to make, because this just gives a really nice sweetness to them, as well as giving a little bit of bitter. These white turnips, the whatever they're called, I forget, I got them at a farmer's market. They have a little bit of bitterness to it, and that bitter flavor is, again, really good at this time of the year with the spring to trigger those digestive processes as well as the detoxification. So I'm going to add in one of these, or two of them, and then another one into the salad. And I'm going to just take out the actual lemon, as the flesh and the juice. I'm not going to bother squirting it. I'm just going to take off the skin and add this as well to what's going to be the dressing for the salad. And one of the things that I like to do before I make the sauce is to cut up all the stuff that's going to go in the salad, and then so that it doesn't start kind of start spoiling over, I like to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, so that it sort of acts as a bit of almost like an acidic preserver, and it just starts also the marination process. And I find that tenderizing process just makes a raw salad a lot more palatable and enjoyable to eat. So in this case, I used some apple cider vinegar, and I also want to really play with the tastes, so I'm going to use some balsamic vinegar as well. This is a really nice one from Italy, very powerful. Just use a little tiny bit of that, and that is going to start marinating while I continue to chop off the stuff and get more ingredients for what's going to be a really awesome sauce full of vegetables and spices and flavors, and that's coming up next. See, I really like salads to come alive, to take on a new form of their own, and that's why I like mixing a lot of ingredients together. And I also find that when I cut up these things in really fine size, the surface area just gets increased, and the more the flavor gets exposed. So the more fine cut things are when they're marinating in the salad bowl, that's just going to make the salad so much more richer, especially when we start adding more ingredients and spices and oils to enhance the flavor profiles of this stuff. And this here is just a little bit of celery. You can see it's pretty fine. Even got the leaves in there. And just going to throw that in there. And I think earlier I called these small round white ones turnips, but I think I meant to say white radishes. They're nice, crunchy, just the right amount of bitter, and taste with a subtle sweetness as well. It's pretty amazing the different flavors you get combined in just one food. So this is where it starts to get fun. To make our thing really marinate nicely here, we're going to give things with lots of flavor. So spices, this is where it's at. This is just a mixture that I chose, kind of like what I was in the mood for and I often use. This is turmeric powder. I love the flavor that this thing adds. You can use as much or as little as you want. More goes a long way. Probably use turmeric to get more of its anti-inflammatory properties. And what helps also with absorbing it is a little bit of black pepper. It's not too much. Usually probably like a 1:15 ratio, more or less. And coriander is another nice spice I love. It gives a nice, almost like lemon subtle flavor to the stuff. Fenugreek. This stuff is also very wonderful. Nice musky flavor. To me, adds a little bit of warmth and digestive support. I love fenugreek seeds. Ginger powder. This stuff also another wonderful digestive aid. The more you add, the slightly more pungency you're going to give to the salad, but I usually am pretty liberal with it as well. Cayenne pepper. This guy I'm actually going to put into the sauce because I want to get a little bit of a kick from the sauce, and cayenne pepper is going to be nice for that. And to also ground it out a little bit, cumin. I'm actually going to add some cumin both to the sauce, just a bit, as well as to the salad itself. Now, another really awesome thing is sauerkraut. If I can, maybe I'll do a video on making sauerkraut. This was a batch that I made myself, and there's lots of different strains of bacteria in here that I use as starter cultures. And I used the leftover of one actually to also enhance the starting of another culture. And so I'm gonna actually add probably about 2 to 3 teaspoons of this stuff. A little goes a long way, but using it daily and regularly is kind of key to help add more of those nice microorganisms to clutter out the not so nice ones in our tummies. Not our tummies, our intestines. Also, I have sprouted or germinated some Austrian pumpkin seeds. This is going to be part of the dip and give it a little bit of extra protein and minerals, especially zinc. And I like also a little bit the flavor that this lends to just to vegetable foods. I find pumpkin seeds make a great addition to any kind of vegetarian dish. It's one of my staples. So I'm going to sprinkle some on my salad as well as use them in the dip itself. And the next thing I'm going to put on here is, well, actually I'm going to prepare this separately. This is miso. This one particularly is organic barley that's been aged for 3 years. There's others, grains or legume that are fermented like soy or rice. There's a couple of varieties, chickpeas. And this one tastes amazing. All I do is grab a little bowl, add it in just like this. I also want to preserve a lot of its qualities. So I'm going to take about a teaspoon of this and add a little bit of water into the bowl. And then just kind of mix it in and let it dissolve. And just give it a bit of mashing with a spoon to do that. You could actually do something like this just to use as a seasoning on its own on top of any salad or dish, really. And you just leave it in there for just a minute or two is enough. And then you can add this wherever you like. In this case, I'm going to add just a little bit to the dressing, and then the rest I'm going to put in the salad and add as more into the marinade. It's also nice not to blend sensitive things with microorganisms in there so as to preserve their health-giving qualities to us. And this is something else that's really going to be cool. These are dried wild mushrooms that were harvested locally. And I also got this from local farmers markets. Definitely want to support the local farmers and wild harvesters. You know, support these people. Not only are you helping them, but you're also helping the local economy, but you're also getting fresh stuff and stuff that's local to you, which means you're getting local microorganisms to help you adapt to your local environment. So all I'm doing is soaking these mixed mushrooms, and I can't even begin to tell you what varieties are in here, but I do know one for sure, lobster mushrooms. one of my favorite tastings. If you don't have dried mushrooms, then you can use fresh mushrooms, and just you can soak those up with some spices or slightly stir fry them with a little bit of coconut oil and spices, and they're gonna absorb flavors really, really well. So all I'm doing is storing these guys, putting them in a little bit of water, and that is going to get them to reconstitute. And to make it taste even better, what I'm going to do is add just a hint of apple cider vinegar as well, and it's going to enhance the flavor so much. So about a tablespoon's worth. And that you can let it sit up to 20 minutes is ideal. I'm probably not going to wait that long, but the nice cool thing is when they're reconstituted, you just add them to the salad, and the water is going to be part of the liquid solution that we're going to make for our sauce here. So that's going to be just so much more flavor adding into the mix. Now, in terms of oils, I'm going to add 3 kinds. The first is camelina oil. This is actually from Canada, and it's made from camelina seed, which is kind of like a cousin to flaxseed. And this oil is much more shelf stable because it's got a really high content of vitamin E to naturally preserve it. So this I'm going to add to the salad, probably about 2 tablespoons worth. And it has a mild nutty kind of flavor. It's a unique flavor, similar to flax, but more mild and more pleasant. And also, this is Rallis's olive oil. I changed into a different bottle because their bottles are so tall you can't fit them anywhere. But this oil is ice pressed, so its qualities are much well preserved than any other oil. Because cold pressing oils actually still brings them to a high temperature, and you still lose some of its properties that way. But ice pressing them, you're going to really preserve the delicate qualities of the oils, which is why I will never add them into a blender, because that oxidation of the oils is going to make them rancid essentially. And when you eat rancid fats, rancid oils, there's a lot of tissue and hormones in the body that are going to be using those oils to create what the body needs, and they're going to use what's around. So if you eat rancid oils, then you're going to make rancid body parts in a way. So you want to have good quality oils, and you really don't need to use a lot. I'm probably exaggerating a bit in my usage here. The olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, which is really healthy to include in our diets, and as well as the omega-3s, which we find in the camelina. And the hemp oil, which is what this one is also a fairly nice balance of omega-3 to omega-6. It's got a much stronger, nuttier taste, so I don't use as much of that. And this one has to be refrigerated, whereas the other two, not necessarily. Now we have some liquids in here, and the oils. We can mix this in much better to really get the marinade action going. You can see here, like, the colors are really blending into themselves, and it's just starting to smell alive. Like the enzymes are all at work, and we've got microorganisms starting to break down the food. This is how we assimilate nutrients. It's the microorganisms in our gut that are digesting all this stuff for us and giving our bodies nutrients. Everything's connected in a beautiful way. And part of that connection is definitely love, and how we infuse love into our lives. And right now, I'm infusing so much love and appreciation to this food that it's going to produce and feed love to the people or persons that's going to eat this. And I'm going to leave a little bit actually to share with my roommates. So that's coming along really nice. So I was also thinking about the consistency and texture of the sauce. I don't really have cashews or really fatty nuts in here, so you're not going to get that creaminess. So to kind of play with the texture a bit, I'm just getting creative, and I'm going to put in a really stable fat, which is shredded coconut. This is about a tablespoon in there, and I think that's about all I'm going to add. And to help with a little bit of a thickening as well, I'm going to add just a tiniest amount of flax seeds, really not a lot. And then I'm probably going to not fully top it, but just give enough water so that I can get some good grinding action going on in the NutriBullet. Another beautiful addition is sun-dried tomatoes. These guys taste amazing, and ideally you should soak them along with the mushrooms, because that is going to really bring out a lot of the flavor of into the liquid that is going to better and decorate the taste of our sauce. As for if you just put them in fully dry, you're not going to get nearly as nice of an outcome. When you grind it up, it won't be so well enveloped. So if you want to pre-soak them, that's definitely going to help. But you don't necessarily have to, especially if you're using like a Vitamix blender or something really powerful. But pre-soaking anything dry is always a good idea. You're going to make it, a bit more alive again. You're going to give it more plumpness, bring out those nutrients, and make them easier to bite into and chew. Now, no salad would be complete without some sea vegetables in here. So these are dulse flakes, which really bring out a nice saltiness and almost a little bit of fishy taste in a way to whatever you're adding them to. And I like using these pretty liberally. Not only are they really alkalizing to the body, full of minerals, iodine, nice food for our thyroid. If you use this stuff enough, you start developing a really nice taste for it. So I'm adding this to the salad, and you know what? I'm going to add like 1 spoon or so to what's going to become the sauce as well. So dulse, kelp is another option, arami. There's so many kinds, and they come in different forms. Full powder, flakes, larger chunks. Regardless, they're always dehydrated, so before you use them, unless they're already in a flaky form, if they're in large forms, you would want to soak them in water. You could even cook with them as well if you like. And since I'm really a fan of garlic, I'm going to be adding just 1 tooth of garlic, chopping it up because I really want to get the maximum flavor out of this, which is just little tiny chunks. And going to be adding that to the NutriBullet to bring out a little nice garlic flavor as well into this medley of beautiful ingredients. And now the time has come. We're going to pour the sun-dried tomato and dried mushroom liquid into the NutriBullet, and that's going to be part of our liquid solution for this stuff to grind well. Once that's out, the rest going into the salad bowl to mix that in nicely. And this smells amazing. With all the stuff in here, give it a nice mix so that we can get our marinating to be as thorough and evenly distributed as possible. It just makes a huge difference that all this time, all the vegetables have been sitting in nicely cut form, small pieces, with all the stuff sitting together in the oils, the vinegars, the spices. These vegetables just bring out the flavors of each other. It's going to taste amazing. And last touch here, just a dash of sea salt and Himalayan salt together, and putting that into the sauce mixture. And I was at a health expo today. They're bringing out some Manitoba Harvest hemp hearts. So I'm actually going to just add a little baggie of this to the salad as well. Love this stuff. You can use this in anything, especially if you're vegetarian. This is such a nice addition to your arsenal of food nutrition, and it just tastes well on anything, in my opinion. So the salad base is pretty much done. I'm going to be adding some other things just because I like to go over the top sometimes with meals, but I can show it just shows you how much life and innovation and alchemy you can create with food to give your palate a party in your mouth. And to add to that party, these are dried black currants. They're smaller than raisins, and they're going to give a nice little bite of sweetness every time you dig your teeth into one of these, or a couple of these. So I'm going to put that in here, toss it up nice. And you can also use mulberries, not as many, they're a lot sweeter tasting, or goji berries, or even fresh blueberries. It'd be a really nice touch to add to this. I know people say don't mix fruit with anything, but you know what? Go with how the feedback you get from your body and see how you feel if you do certain food combinations that might seem wacky or you're told aren't good combos. You really got to play with it and notice what your body tells you. I just took a bite of this. It is to die for. The flavor, like the more you chew this, different flavors start coming out in your mouth. It's amazing on its own already. The spices really hit the tongue nice. And I'm gonna add 2 fresh leaves of basil into the sauce and close this up and make myself some nice creamy goodness to add on top of this beauty. Check this out. Amazing. I already had a taste of this and wow. The tomato, the garlic, the chives, the spices that were in here. You can taste it all. It's just so vibrant. This is gonna be an amazing finisher to an amazing salad. Try this, please. You will not regret the effort you put into making this epic meal. Yeah, guys, finished product. Amazing. Now, I did mention the sprouter that I used earlier for making my mixer sprouts. It's called the Freshlife FL3000. It's made by Tribest, and you can stack up to 3 of these units, so you can go 3 different things about 3 or 4 days apart. So you have a rotation going, and you can have regular harvest. I will admit it was a bit of a annoyance to clean out all the roots. You really have to pull this out with your hands, give it a nice good scrubbing, and you do have to change the water. Ideally, you should do it daily, from what I've experienced, so that not only you get the prevention of any molds and things, and it is good to add a little bit of just like a capful of 35% hydrogen peroxide, food grade, to the reservoir of water, because that's going to help with preventing any kind of molds and stuff from building up. So that's the ideal thing to do. Using I actually used the shower filter head in to use that water, because the chlorine's been taken out, as well as some other contaminants and whatnot, and that's the water that I use just to be economic for the sprouting process. And yeah, change that up daily. So would I use this guy, continue to use this guy? I recommend it. If you're willing to put in a little bit of time into growing your own foods, I would say this can help, because the annoyances, I think the benefits rather would outweigh the annoyances, because you're going to save money not buying sprouts. Seeds are way inexpensive by comparison, and with every 3 days or so, you're like getting a fresh harvest. You can really spread that out throughout your week, and get some nice fresh living foods into your diet on a daily basis, especially now it's spring. Try this out for yourselves. Explore, experiment, bring in creativity into your life, into the kitchen, and just experience everything that the palette of life has to offer, not just in your mouth, but get involved with your food. Have these living beings around you in the kitchen, in your rooms, have plants in your home. Really bring the green and the life back into these concrete jungles that we've built for ourselves. That's become such an important healing piece for me, and I can only encourage people to do that more. Get outside, get your feet on the grass and the sand, get in the water, and touch trees. Get dirty. That's how we stay strong, is by being friends with our environment, instead of trying to kill everything and sanitize ourselves to death. So yeah, be good to yourselves, guys. Cheers.